Boy, it's muggy today here in good old South Georgia. Got a little sweat going. Even I got the AC on and the fan running. Of course, I just went out and toted in this big old piece of log right here, out there in the super humidity. So that's my excuse for being hot and sweaty, but it's going to get worse before it's all over. I hope everybody had a good weekend. Thank you for coming to Monday Methods. Ready to help you save some wood today. That's kind of what we're about. Theoretically, everything is working, so we'll see how she rolls. As usual, if you have questions, pop them in the chat box. Again, I am connected to both the Facebook and the YouTube channels, in theory, on my wonderful chat stream. So we'll see, and I feel a cough coming on. So excuse me. Again, I hope everybody had a good weekend. So what are we going to do today? Well, we want to save wood, because we know that going out and getting wood can be expensive if you're buying it. And if you have to go out and go through the labor of collecting big logs and then cutting them up into your certain blanks that you want to use, well, you want to get everything out of them you can. It's a lot of labor, so even if you didn't buy it, it's still a lot of work, a lot of labor. So you want to get the most out of a piece you can. And this log here, I don't have my tape measure handy, but I'm going to guess it is probably, about 14 inches in diameter. Something like that. It's out back here. I have a whole mountain of wood back here that I am aging for various projects, for patina, for stabilizing, and then casting later on. So when we would cut this guy up, there would be some waste. Well, what I want to try and cover today, and help you with any questions you might have, and we're going to make a couple of things, is show you the parts that you might normally throw away, how to keep those, and how to utilize them. So that's our plan. Now I am going to just step over here for a minute, because I still don't trust technology. You know, it's supposed to be working, but I want to make sure that everything looks good. So while I do that, I'm just going to give you one of these overhead shots of that big log for a second. Well, I walk over here and make sure that everything is looking good. It's funny, in the chat box I can see chats, but I can't see who's here, so I'm going to look over here at Facebook and say good morning, David, and Corey, and Arthur, and Myers. I'm glad you all could make it. And I'll jump over here to YouTube real quick and take a look. See what's shaking over there. All right. Boy, it's muggy today. I'm just happy that the cameras haven't fogged up yet. So I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to do this, because I've got another set of samples already cut up underneath this one, sitting here on the lathe that I want to show you. And I think I'll just kind of reach over the front. Okay. So when we go to cut a log like this, I'm just going to kind of lean on this guy and look at my monitor, and I hope that everything works out. I know the camera's down here, but I'll be looking up to the left just a little teeny bit. So here's our whole log. And I got my marker in my hand. So this will be kind of fun for me, because I'll look at a monitor in front of me and watch myself in reverse. So as we may or may not know, the very center of our log is the proverbial pith that you may have heard of. And the pith area of the log it's the very center core of the tree. And if we leave that in our work, typically speaking, it's not 100%, but if we leave it in our work, we will often get splits in the piece that we turn as it dries out. So it's pretty standard protocol to work your way around that and cut around it. And so when you do that, you waste some wood, theoretically, but this is how we're going to help you save today. You waste some wood that's above and below, depending on how you cut around it and what you do. So like I said, again, I'm going to reach over this, and I'm just going to use, I just grabbed some kind of a stick here. And again, any questions you have, pop them in the comment column, and they should show up on the screen right down here in front of me. So we want to isolate, the first thing we want to do is we want to isolate this pith. So pretend that we can see these marker lines, and I'll pretend that I can see them. And that would, there, you can kind of see those. And let me look over here on this other screen. Yeah, Okay. So that's right down the center of our tree. Now, theoretically, you could come in here and draw an X, and sometimes I will, just to make sure when I'm laying things out that I don't overstep my bounds. So I can come in here. I've never drawn it from the opposite side, but hey, it's the first time for everything. So I've boxed out the very center of the tree. Now I may want to make a end grain hollow form, say out of one of these quarters if I like it. I may want to make the whole piece bowl blanks. There's all kinds of different things I'm going to do with it. Well, when we cut up a log, we want to get those nice premium blanks for our bowls and our vessels, whatever it is we're doing. So we tend to say, well, let's go ahead and this outer edge over here that's been exposed, et cetera, we may not want that. We say, we're going to probably discard that. And there's a couple of ways you can go. You can either start here on the outside and make that and work your way in. I typically work from the center. I work the opposite way. So I'll start with how big a blank do I want coming off the premium wood, let's say. Or if I really want just a super premium, I'll get right in the middle of this piece. Let me go here. There we go. I might take a blank right out of the very middle of this and let everything else be secondary. Just depends on what you're looking for. So if I draw this one out, and now this is a little small. This is only like 1.25 inches wide, but let's assume that it's 3 or 4 inches thick, because I was already running a tick late, so I chose not to go find a 2x4. Now when we've laid that out, and maybe we go ahead and we decide we want one more, and I'm looking in there, so I can say let's go like this. This will work out just about right. All right, and so I'm assuming you can see that. I'm looking over at the monitor here real quick. Yep, I can see those lines drawing up through there. So you can see how on this far end here, we've got this pretty ratty piece here on the end. If you have watched Monday Methods before with me, you know that sometimes I'll actually use that piece because it's got a lot of strange curves in it, and I make some kind of organic pieces out of it. If I look at the other side, where I was just now drawing, I have a bigger blank, but it may have some little splits or checks or cracks in it. But that doesn't mean that I can't use that. And the other question is, so we've already decided that this wood around the pith here is bad. Well, in reality, it's bad in that box that we drew. But this section above and the section below that, there's nothing wrong with that wood. That wood is perfectly fine to use for our projects. A lot of times you would just throw that middle section away, and you might throw these edges away and just say, that's scrap, throw that in the fire pile. You don't have to do that. So that's what we're going to do today. So let's assume that we ran out with our chainsaw, and we went down and cut these lines. I do feel like the weatherman for the first time. And we made our cuts all the way across here. And let's assume for the sake of discussion that this log was still had length to it, and then we came back here and we cross-cut the log and our blanks all fell off. All right? So we would have our premium blank, and then we would have our other blanks. So as I grunt to get this out of the way and stick it over here, I think probably still weighs 60 pounds. Okay, so you can see some of the wood that I've got laid out here. And I don't have a flat table on my lathe. I had plans, but it didn't quite work out to have everything set up just like I want it. So let's assume here is the outside piece that we just cut off. So from here over was one of our premium blanks, maybe a second premium blank, and then the pith area, right? So here's our outside curve of the log. And when we look at it, we see the little bit of bark is still on this one. Now, when I looked at this one the other night, as in last night, I didn't see a lot of terrible cracks. And one of the issues that oftentimes happens with these outermost pieces is if the log has been laying around for a while, even though it's a full log, you may start to get uneven drying, and get cracks in here. And I'm going to give you like an overhead shot here just a little bit so you can see. This is a ambrosia maple, and if I look at the large part here, on this end, I don't see initially any cracks. Nothing major anyway. And as I turn it around, one thing you notice, well, this is really thin right in here because of the natural curvature of the log. And then it comes back to being thick. So how are we going to work with that? That's not a normal blank where we have a uniform thickness. I'll show you how do we deal with that. We look at the other end, as we see here. Hey, good morning, Rich. How you doing, buddy? This end again, you can see a little bit of the spalting behind the sealer that's on here. And again, no major splits. I was out at the shop and the warehouses last night looking for wood. And I've got a bunch of big splits and things like that. So I didn't want to mess with those, so I brought this one in. So this is a great blank. Instead of throwing this away, we're going to mount this up and turn it. We're going to utilize that natural curve of the piece to make the basic shape for our bowl. Rich says, it's not bad. Another wonderful day in the office. I understand that, Rich. I'm in my office today. Well, my other office. I'm in the office I like more, which is out here. So we're going to utilize this natural curve and make ourselves a nice bowl. Or these often tend to lead themselves to be platters, if you will, because they end up being a little bit thinner. Because we do have this issue in what's narrower in this section right in here. But this is a perfectly good blank of wood. It's already, to some degree, it's already pre-curved. Now, another thing that you do run into when you get in the outer reaches of the piece of wood is you may have, outer wood, or early wood, sapwood, whatever you want to call it, and then heartwood in the middle. So you may have two different densities of wood, and that makes it a little bit more difficult for the turning sometimes. But if you're like me and you think every piece of wood is usable, is a good piece of wood, I mean, I'm rotting wood on purpose, so maybe my perspective is skewed these days, and that's okay. But if you can find a good reason to use this piece of wood, there's nothing wrong with it. So that's what we're going to do with this outermost piece. All right, so we're going to set this off to the side for a second. And we have our wonderful blanks, our premium ones that we cut. They're over there. They're all good. We're not going to worry about those. But what I have here, and I guess I need to zoom this other camera out, so excuse me, I'm going to do this and drop you over there on the side, and I'm just going to reach up here and zoom this one out just a little bit. I have a remote for these, but they don't actually work. And hopefully that'll stay in focus because it is on a manual focus. So here's an overhead shot of that centerpiece of wood, and it has now been dissected. And if I can make this stay together, roughly speaking, here's our piece of wood. This was a blank that came out completely square. And I'm still, I'm on the end camera still. No, I'm back on the overhead. It's just giving me goofy things on my other screen, I think. No, I'm on the end. I can't even drive my own equipment over here. Here we are on the overhead. So here's the section that would have been the pith, the actual pith. I got to sit this right up here so it doesn't fall over. This is the actual true center section of the tree. This is that box that I cut out. So you can see here, it's just kind of a rectangle, long piece. Now, it's not the most horrible looking piece of wood. And for us resin casters who like to do things, stabilize, we could dry this out and stabilize this up, and it's not going to crack on us. Rich, you can correct me if you think I'm wrong on that, because that pith issue is going to be gone because we're going to fill this thing full of stabilizing resin and really lock it down. But this is the most draggy part, the most undesirable in theory. But I see plenty of good wood here to work with. I can't personally imagine why I would actually want to throw this away anymore. There might have been a time when I would have thrown that in the wood stove, but it's a beautiful piece of maple. Okay, but we're going to set that off to the side for a second. Now, here's the left-hand side of our piece. of our blank. Now, yes, now it's got some rod in it. Like I say, I've been rodding these outside. I mean, literally just kind of under an old ratty tarp. I want the bugs to eat on them and all that kind of stuff. So that center section was right over here. So we have a variety of things that we can do with this. So what I did on the right-hand side is I cut this into a few blocks to make project blanks. I've done this for years. I would take these pieces and cut them up. I would just run them right down through the bandsaw and cut them up into pieces. So in this case, here is just one long piece. So you can take a piece like this and have your face crane, make a long, say a box, perfect piece for a box, for a lidded box, nothing wrong with that. I mean, it's got some holes in it, so you have to kind of look over that, go beyond that. But there's a great piece for a box. The next section, I'm going to move this brown guy for a second. These are a little bit bigger than 2x2s, but I cut these into bottle stopper blanks. Nothing wrong with that whatsoever. You can orient your blanks either end grain or face grain. So no waste whatsoever. You think about this, we're literally not getting rid of anything. And then I have a little round that I cut out of one of these quarters, if you will. Cut it square, ran it around on the bandsaw, free-handed it, kind of looks like it too. Could be a nice little lidded jewelry box, right? So we literally are going to use this entire piece of wood, and if you're into the stabilizing world, again, we could use all of this. So there's no real reason, if you don't mind doing a little extra work, that you can't utilize this entire piece of log. All right. Now, that's assuming that we don't have any horrible, terrible cracks in it and things of that nature. We don't want to get hurt. We don't want to be working with a piece of wood that's dangerous. Looking at this, I don't see cracks to speak of at all. Maybe just a couple little teeny ones here and there. So the whole point being, we can really utilize our wood. And especially if you want to go down to your local wood specialty supply, and I'm not going to name them by name, like Woodcraft or Rockler or anything like that, you'll get great blanks, but you don't get everything. You just get the premium blanks, let's say. And if you like cutting your own blanks, this is the way to go. I got nothing against retail stores, don't get me wrong. I've been known to raid them many times, many times. Not a problem with that at all. It just costs a lot of money. So, a couple projects. We're going to go ahead. I think I'm going to make this big guy first, and I'm just going to kind of rough turn that into a shape to give you an idea. Good morning, Jim Haynes. Thanks for dropping in. It's good to see you. We're going to go ahead and mount this guy up, and we'll turn that into a basic form. I'm not going to get carried away with it. And then we'll do something with the little round guy, and, you know, time permitting. Same thing here with the long, tall one. I'll move kind of fast. I won't sand. I'm just going to, you know, get you through the basic concept and show you that we can utilize all these different pieces. Rich says, check out the FB Marketplace and Craigslist for free wood. I've got an extra pecan trees that way. If you want some pecan trees, Rich, come on up here. Mine are about 5 feet in diameter, and I don't want to pay to have them cut down. Of course, you have to be insured, bonded, and all that. Hey, Fred. Fred Weissmeller's in here. Good morning, Fred. It's good to see you. All right, so we're going to go ahead and mount this guy up. Now, as you can see, it's still got some of the bark on it. So we're going to take that bark off. I'm going to find my favorite chisel, put my pen away there. There's no need in turning this piece with the bark on it. I'm going to go to the overhead here. And I'm going to see if this will come loose. There we go. Because it's just going to fly off anyway. Even though it's, you know, it's on there pretty good, but you can see that it's not on there strong. But you see right here. So this is when I buy my logs from a log yard, and that's the tongs. When the tongs come in and grab it, it puts holes in the outside, but we're going to turn that away, so we're not going to worry about that. Now this piece is not perfectly round. It's not bad. It was actually cut on, let me look and see here. Is there a hole in there? There is. So this was cut on the Carter Products circle jig. It's a great way to go. You set one up on your bandsaw, and that'll get you all squared away for that, so that you don't have to freehand. I mean, you can see a difference. Let's see if there's a difference between. I mean, I did pretty good for just 2 cups of coffee and a soda before I started, but cutting the bigger blanks with the Carter Products circular cutter. I've got one. It's up in North Georgia at the shop there. I don't have one. I have one here. I've never set it up on the old Sears. But that's going to help me line up and mount my faceplate. So I'm going to look around in here and see where all my goodies are. Because admittedly, I took the weekend off. Yesterday was my birthday. Had a nice casual day considering all the lockdowns, but we did get to go have ice cream. And Bridget said, "What did I want to eat?" And I said, "Well, Panera's open." So we really whipped it up. We would have normally gone down to Savannah. There's a couple places I really love to go in Savannah that we love to eat at, but they're still closed up. So we had to let that go. Let's see here. All right. Oh, just getting a few goodies out of the section over here where I keep my stuff. I could mount this on a worm screw too, if I so chose. But I'm going to go with the faceplate. I kind of like the faceplates. And there we go. All right. Oh, wire fell off the back. Need a couple more screws. I've only got 4. Let me run around here. So does anybody have any questions about getting your blanks cut up? Who cuts their own blanks? Anybody doing the chainsaw dance like the rest of us are here doing? And I mean, I have to admit that I spend more money on chainsaws, chainsaw chains, fuel for chainsaw, and fuel for the truck to drag it all there than I do for the wood, because I only pay $45 a ton for the wood. But it gives me complete control over how I cut things and how I process things, and that makes me quite pleased with how that works. Now, what doesn't please me is that I look at my drill here. The tip for my screws is missing, which means I will probably never find it this morning, and I'm not going to spend all morning rooting for it. That'll be aggravating. We may be putting this on a worm screw after all. It fell out somewhere around here. That is indeed aggravating. But one more quick look and then we're going to the worm screw. All right, change of plan. Because I don't think I'm going to find the tip for that in any reasonable amount of time. I cut my own and made a custom bandsaw jig that has a sliding pin to adjust the size based on the raw material. Cool idea. Cool idea. So I am hoping this has already got the hole in it. I'm going to re-drill that hole a little bit better. But we're going to put our worm screw into our chuck, and we'll get this guy mounted up. Now this worm screw has this Easy Wood chuck and the Easy Wood worm screw. It's got 2 sizes. I'm going to use the bigger of the 2. This maple should be actually pretty hard, and it should hold the threads really well. Okay, that's all set right there. I need to, of course I have to find a drill bit, but we can handle that. It's bound to be something. I love to come over and poke around in the drawer for this cabinet. That ought to do the trick. So we'll go back over to the overhead here. You've gone from leaves to bowls, Art. So I know you were doing some gardening work there. Oh, let's lock that down a little bit. I'm hoping that that's the big enough drill bit, because I know some of my others are out at the warehouse. These threads are self-cutting. We'll see if it threads on here or not. It may not, and it may. Using the worm screw, you do want to make sure that you have a good, tight, and secure hold. If the wood is really soft, it's not going to do as well for you. And it can pull out. I may have to go a little bit deeper or see as that sticks out. I think I will. Again, I grabbed the first bit that looked like it would do the trick here. That's a little better. Get that threaded all the way up. And so the jaws of our chuck are going to be like our faceplate. That's what's going to support the piece. Now, depending on how well the threads catch here, you want to get that snug. You don't want to over tighten. So I'm coming snug. The fear, if you over tighten it, you'll pull all the threads out of it completely. And we don't want to do that. So I've got that snug now. And I'm going to bring my tailstock up. Now this is going to be kind of messy, making some chunks and junk, but that's all good. I hope my key is looking better today. I keep working on my green screen key, adding more lights to get it right. It's always a work in progress, what we do out here. Might be time for a 2-inch corner bit. 2-inch corner bit. As soon as I know what a 2-inch corner bit is, Art, I will look into that. All right. We're locked down here. Make sure everything's locked down. We're all good. Let's go look for a speed here. Forstner. Oh, I got a Forstner bit. Yeah, you can tear. You have to be careful with your Forstner bits. You can tear up a quill. I have been known to. I used to use a 3.5-inch Forstner bit. So we are in. I think we are in the front view. Yep. So what I want you to see, going to the overhead, is you can see as you look down in here. See if I can get my finger in there. You can see the actual profile, the natural profile, that natural curve of the piece, and then you can see those two high and low spots. So we're going to turn that about 800. Vibrations are not too bad. Okay. That should do the trick. So as we clean this up, we're going to be cutting air and then wood and then air and wood. And we're just going to naturally shape and follow this piece. So I'm going to bring my tool rest over. Get things lined up. There's another loose piece right there. Might as well go ahead and take that away. Art, your keyboard is stupid? Where do you buy those? Mine has an attitude. I know that for sure. So we make sure that everything is clean and clear. And you can come about this from the end. You can come about it from over here. Cutting back the other way. Let's see if I may try that today just for fun. If I can get the banjo under here. See, it's real close. I may not be able to get it back over there. I was thinking that I couldn't. With a little wiggling. There we go. Okay. So what this will let me do is work from the back side, and all the chips will be flying away from me here as I get these corners off. And I won't get so beat up and all that kind of good stuff. All right. Alrighty. Put on the super old face mask, and let's find a tool over here. I'll probably just go with a Carter & Son 5/8 bowl gouge. It looks like I sharpened on it last week. I'm not going to run over to the grinder and take the time. If it gives me trouble, we might have to do that. And I'm looking at the opposite other cameras for you. And I think this overhead one is going to be the best. I'm going to adjust it just a fuzz. So I'm going to change to the end camera for a second. And I'm going to move this one just a tick. I know you see that other one wiggling. Those are on the same track. There we go. So now that you can see the tool working in here. Now, yes, technically speaking, we want to cut downhill, but I want to get this corner off. Then we're going to come back from the backside and really start to shape this guy. All right, and I'm just going to come out here. I'm going to actually move my tool rest in a little bit closer, as close as I possibly can, without anything touching. Oh, and I do want to mention, as you see in the bottom of the screen, the woodworking shows. We're working together. Little co-participating sponsorship, helping each other out. They let people know that Spiracraft is out here on Monday Methods, and we let people know that the woodworking shows is there and ready to hopefully come back. I say hopefully. All indications are next year they'll be good to go. So I'm just using about 1 o'clock on the flute. And as I get that sharp corner off of there, it'll make this go a lot faster and a lot easier. So you can see we're already cutting in here. It's got some nice ambrosia in it. I'm going to move my tool rest in a little bit closer now. Always trying to keep that tool rest nice and close. In a minute here, I'll switch to the end camera as it starts to come around the corner. Jim Haynes, any word of the new face mask? No, not yet. as far as I know, they're still not available. I mean, I think I've got 2 more of these old ones, but the new ones that flip up, not yet. So I don't know if you can tell, but it's, and I may switch to the front camera for a second, it's throwing all the chips out here to the back. So it looks like the baby birds in the nest have jumped out of the nest this morning. I have a baby bird nest here in the shop. So if you see a bird fly in front of the camera or come over here, well, we don't bother them. They don't bother me. But all the chips are headed over here, right? Just going up against the wall. Yeah, that wonderful wood wall that I've got back there now, there's wood chips sticking to it. It's actually green. Yep, that's what I get for talking and not checking. Alright. Now also, as I've gotten some of that corner off, I'm going to go for a little more speed here. So I took it up around 9 1/4. Help clean this up. I'm actually going to raise that tool rest up a little bit. And then I'm going to have to move out just a fuzz when I do that. I just want to get this sharp corner off of here. That's kind of blocking your view there. So let me move that. You can see that. Okay. Alright, that one might not be as sharp as I'm wanting it, so I'm going to actually switch, although I'm going to a smaller tool. It may have a little fresher edge on it, and then pretty soon I'm going to come turn around and come in from over here. I got birds everywhere this morning. It's kind of fun actually. Tell you what, I'm going to run over here real quick because I'm just not happy that this tool's not sharp enough. I'm going to run over here real quick and I'm going to sharpen this tool up. It'll only take me 2 or 3 seconds, or 10 or 15, if the birds don't attack me totally. And freshen this guy up just a little teeny bit. Yes, Mama Bird and Daddy Bird. I understand. You're all concerned. Someday we'll have a bigger studio, although this one is working just fine. It just can't keep everything right in sight. I know it's bad protocol to walk away from your audience in the screen. But sometimes you just have to make do with what you got. I'll only be here a minute. And then this guy will be all nice and fresh. I get so used to these tools. You know, I don't run them hard for long periods of time out here, so I don't spend a lot of time over on the grinder. These carders that I just kind of take for granted they'll be workable sharp. Now, when I really need that fine finished cut, then indeed I go ahead and make a change and come over here and sharpen them. I don't know what I did to the grind on this particular one before. I'm having to spend a little more time to get it back where I want it. Must have been doing something goofy with it, which would not surprise me. I don't know what I was up to with it. No telling. That's what happens when you have too many tools. But I know it'll be back where I want it when I return over there in just a minute. I started to grind up a tool with the 40/40 grind on it and play with it out here this weekend, or this weekend today, but I didn't get to it yesterday. I was gonna come regrind one. It's something I haven't used before, and I'm kind of interested in it. And Ron Brown's Best out of Atlanta there, he sent me a jig system for doing a 40/40 grind, and I saw Ron Campbell had set it up and did a little review on it, so it got my attention, and I've got one laying there in the office. I need to bring it out here and give it a go. All right. So much for that sharpening exercise. Let's see here. How are we doing? All right. Let's go ahead and turn around. Now that I went ahead and sharpened this up, I'm going to go ahead and bring it in, things back in from the far side. And that top still isn't. I may have to cut some of that away. I snuck it under here before. Let me do that real quick. I'm going to just take this diameter off of here just a little bit. All right. Again, if you guys got any kind of questions, you fire away. And let me keep a track on the times. I don't have my watch on. It's 11 o'clock. Good. I got an hour. We're all good. Even though I started 6 or 7 minutes late, I'm ahead of my normal schedule. I'm happy with myself. All right, let's go back to overhead here for you real quick. And I just want to take a little bit of diameter off of this. You can see how much better that's cutting now that I sharpened it up. Okay. It's only night and day when they're freshly sharp. You can't emphasize enough the importance of keeping your tools sharp. Just can't. It's just so important. Cannot emphasize it enough. All right, so I'm getting a little bit dirty on this one now, coming from this way, but I will get better, cleaner cuts. I got this divot right here that's going to give me trouble. Let me go to the end camera here. And so I've got this divot right here from the logging tongs, and there's another one right there. And since I'm on the worm screw, I'm not going to take my tailstock out of the way, so I'll just kind of have to work around that a little bit. But we're just going to come in here, start to shape this. Alright, let's see what we got here. We're getting there. Nice clean cut in there. I'm going to clean this up a little bit more. So this is going to be the profile that controls our shape, either this side or this side, and they look pretty uniform. So we'll see which one dictates it first. Let me get you on the overhead for this. You'll see this tool, and I'm not actually letting the bevel touch. It's just kind of floating along. As I rough this out. Okay. So we're starting to come in, this is starting to come down. That's our goal. And I'm going to draw across the bottom of this just to kind of flatten some of that out as I get ready to go there. Using more wing than anything else right here. Because I can't get in from this way to make that cut with the tailstock in place. And then my tenon is going to be right in here. I'm on the, go to the end camera for you here. So this is where my tenon is going to be, right in here. So I just want to, generally shape this. Let's see what we got here. So we still got a little bit of section here. It's a beautiful piece of wood. A little bit of that has to go. And this will all go away as we make this tenon and make these final cuts. Alright, so what I want to do is I want to go ahead and take this tailstock away. I'm going to check how firm I am in that on that worm screw. Bring my tool rest around. I'm going to flatten out just to prep for my tenon. Unlock the spindle would be always good. And I'm just ballparking here for the moment where my tenon is going to be. I'll be putting a 2 3/8 inch tenon on here. So let me real quick, I'm going to set my caliper for that. Usually I have it in the right spot, but it got changed. Looks like last week. So we'll change it. And actually the jaws that are in there that I set to are right there. That should get me pretty close to what I want. Of course, I need to actually check that real quick, since I don't have the jaws. And I lose my tape measures all the time. I got too many things going on in too many places. Is one of the problems. There we go. That was right. I guessed it right. I guess I've seen it enough times. So that's good. Okay. So let's say I want to switch tools because I like to use all my different tools. I could cut that tenon with the bowl gouge, but it's just easier with the EasyWood tools. Square cutter. So that's a real cut for there now for real. It'll be just a little bit smaller. I just take my test cuts like that. Maybe one more tick off. You could also make a recess if you like to do recesses. But I like to get this tenon established. Make sure it's slightly concave, if anything. Use my the length of that cutter, if you have these tools, to make yourself a 3/8 inch long tenon, and it's just the right size. Yeah, sing that song, birdie. I'm happy to have birds in the shop, in the studio. Put a little dovetail on here. Mark the center. A little more dovetail. Alright. Now we'll go back to shaping this guy. She seems pretty solid. And I'm just going to give it a basic shape, and we'll turn it around real quick. Take the inside out. And as you can see, this piece that was on the outside of the tree that you think wasn't any good, it was just a scab thrown off to the side. Well, this is turning out to be going to be a beautiful bowl with a beautiful, nice size, shape to it. Nothing wrong with this whatsoever, and that could have gone in a lot of guys' burn piles. So that's, you know, it's a nice piece of wood. I mean, if you're selling an art and craft show, you know, there's $80 sitting here easy all day long that you would have thrown in the burn pile. And my tool handle is hitting my controller. I move my controller down here. Problem is I lean against it if I do that. So let me put it over there. And I am in that, so let me go overhead for you. Lower this tool rest back down just a fuzz. So one thing about changing from carbide to conventional, you do tend to have to change your tool rest around. I'm just roughing this shape around the corner now to get the rest of that flat out of there. Don't do that. Okay, so this is a pretty bowl. Again, let me show you the end. My tool marks are just going quick. So we've got a couple nice ambrosia streaks. It's got a little bit of mildew in it, just because it's the way I've been aging it. Now this piece I would color, or I will color. I would dye this up. Okay. So we'll make one more pass around here. And then we'll turn this around real quick and we'll move on to another project. Sorry, you gotta go. Okay, Art, thanks for dropping in. We'll see you. Dick Gerard, good morning, sir. Hope you're doing well. I was taking a fairly heavy cut with that particular gouge. I was almost using the whole wing. But for right now, because we're just getting this guy roughed around. All right, what am I doing? Mask off, changing cameras, getting a little fresh air. We're going to take this off the worm screw, whip it around into the chuck. Now that is one of the beauties of the worm screw, is that you don't have to put your chuck on and off, take your chuck on and off the lathe. You just take out the worm screw, change it right over. Yeah, that chemo and radiation stuff, from what I understand, Dick, is no fun. I do wish you well, and I hope you get your stuff all squared away and taken care of. So with my tenon, when I cut it there, you can see that I have about a strong 1/8 of an inch gap, so I have a really good bite and good connection on my tenon. All right, snug that guy up real nice. Now this outer shape, this back shape here, is not exactly where it would stay, and like I say, I would come back because I want to get to some of these other projects, and I would refine that shape. But we're just going to clean this up and rough it out real quick and set it off to the side. It's dry, been dry for quite a while. And we'll go to the end camera for you there. And just because I haven't used the carbide so much today, let me see if I can't find a round non-negative rake. Been doing a lot of resin lately. A lot of things that got negative rakes in them. But if I just want to clean this up if I've got nothing but carbide tools, preferably you've got easy wood tools, then this would be your next move. And we just come across here. This is actually a mini finisher. And we just clean that face up. Okay. Got a little bit more to go there. That's a pretty piece of wood. Unfortunately, we're going to cut a lot of that ambrosia out of there. All right, let's just take a little bit of this wood out. Back to a bowl gouge. I'm going to leave this fairly thick. You can go any way you want. You can start in the middle and draw out. Work your way down in steps. Whatever suits your fancy that works is good. This maple has gotten nice and hard. And if you're in carbide world, let's say, what have I got down here? Say you like the big tools. Just grab a big old pro size carbide tool. Make sure it's cutting at center. I don't usually load more than about a quarter of the cutter on these. And we'll just go to that hole that's gone from the screw. I don't know how far I drilled down in there. There's the bottom of it. Now another thing about all this that's really good is you can practice your finish cuts. So let's say I know that I'm not done with this. I'm going to make it thinner. But let's say I just want to practice with those finish cuts of mine. I would actually run back over and resharpen this bowl gouge that I have here. But I'm not going to because I don't want to take the time. Take a look and see what this one's like. And you can practice your finish cuts because this is wood that you're just going to throw away. I think I'm on the end there for you. Yeah. Up that down just a tick. So practice on this wood that you're going to throw away. All right. So what looked like when we started was a real scabby outside piece of the tree that you might not, use for anything. Well, my gosh, we've got a nice 12, 14-inch bowl here. It's a beautiful piece of wood. It is free of cracks. There's no splits in it. Yeah, it's got a nice look to it. All right. Now, like I say, it's just kind of roughed out real quick here. Again, I would have jumped over there and sharpened the tools up to make all the nice little cuts on it. I want to figure out what I want to do with this. I have left enough material here that I could put leave a rim up here for a decorative type platter or something like that. So that's a great use of that piece of wood that we might have otherwise thrown away. All right. So if you got any questions about that, just holler. I'm going to set that guy down, and I'm going to look at my stack of stuff here and try and decide maybe just what it is I'm going to come up with to make next. I got my little round block right here. Again, you could it'd be pretty small, but you could do a lidded style box out of this if you wanted to. What kind of time do I have? 11:22. We could make something with this guy. We could make a deep box out of this. These would be, again, our bottle stopper kind of blanks. I had thought about taking this one and cutting it square, cutting some squares out of it, and doing the tea lights, three-legged tea lights. I hadn't done those and cut them in triangle. I didn't do that, but that would be another thing you could do. So let's think about what do we want to make with this real quick. We got a hole in the bottom of that right there. I'm open to suggestions. If anybody would like to make a comment and say, hey, Bradley, take that round one or take this one right here and make an XYZ. I'm going to set those right there in the overhead and one of these. And wait for 30 seconds for any kind of opinion on that while I get a sip of cold water from over here. Ah, that tastes good. Okay. Make a sphere. Of course you would ask for me to make a sphere, Dick. Dick says, make a sphere. Make my life hard, Dick. A little teeny 2-inch sphere. That's been a while. Been a while, Dick, since I've made a sphere. You know that you held the first one I ever made, Dick, when I was up there at the retreat. That was the first sphere I had ever done, and I had done it at the woodworking shows. I had the Carter Products sphere jig out there, and I went to do a club demo to do spheres, and the jig got jacked up before the demo started, so I did it by hand. Well, Rich, I've got the sphere jig. It's over out at the warehouse. You know how everything's out at the warehouse. Dan Wolfgang like to see a small lidded box. We could do that. I haven't busted one of those out in a while. So let's do that. It's been a while. I got a half an hour. I'll play in here. And let's see. I'm going to make the lidded box out of, Rich. So, Rich, you're coming through in two different formats there. 2 dogs and a bottle of whiskey, which is cool, and yourself. A sphere jig is really handy, and the cool thing, I'm going to jump up here. The cool thing about the sphere jigs is you think it was made for making a sphere. You can play with it, get your basic shapes, and then if you'll go ahead and loosen up the knobs to where it'll pivot and articulate, you can pretty much freehand with that carbide cutter that's in there, and you can do some cool flares. You can take a sphere, make a perfect sphere, and then come down to a stem and let it, you can sweep with it. So it's pretty creative. It gives you a lot of latitude. And I had a ball when I demoed it all season some years ago, and it was really fun to work with. And I had a ball with it. Once I'd get the sphere made, then I would hollow out the top, and then I would come in and make the stems, and it was pretty cool. All right, so let's use this piece. Now, optimally, we would have cut it round on the bandsaw, but we're not going to. We're just going to kind of go with it. Lan wants to see a 4-legged tea light. So what I'm going to do is see if I can jump this into a pair of 3-inch jaws. Now, I haven't done my lidded box stuff in a long time. I'll probably flub it. Which sphere do I use the Carter Products sphere jig. It works quite well. Easy to use. I'm looking for my jaw changer pin tool that I was using as a pointer earlier, which means I have to have thrown it somewhere or dropped it. Where did I put it? Did it fall down in here? See, that's what happens when I turn a bunch of big stuff like this. I lose tools down in the chips. Where did you go? Well, when all else fails, there's always another tool. Wherever I have it hiding. You just have to be creative on the fly. Doesn't really matter what you stick down in these holes to change out your chuck jaws. I lose more tools. It's scary. And this room isn't that big. The problem is I have 2 workshops here, or this is the studio and the workshop is next door, and then 3 warehouse buildings that stuff moves around back and forth to when I'm on the road. And then heaven forbid if I go up to the shop in North Georgia, or if I go out to the house in Colorado, where there's 2 more shops. Let's see. We're just going to have to live with that being a little crooked. Tell you what we're going to do. I'm going to change my mind here. I'm going to change my mind, I think. If I drill out, it won't work. All right. We'll make it a small lidded box. We'll make this work. This is not the normal method that everybody uses, but then again, I'm not normal. I do want to get rid of this bark. If it'll pop off of here for me. Now, if y'all remember a couple of weeks ago, I was looking for my mallet. I still don't think I have found my mallet. I know it's here. I just don't know where. Maybe the baby birds carried it off. This has been working pretty well in a pinch for the mallet. I'm happy things are starting to open back up, you know, in our world. And things are opening up around here. The restaurants are starting to open back up. My wife Bridget is actually over at the office at the library today, which makes her very happy to be going back to an office. I hope, Rich, I know you're back at work in the office now. That's cool. I'm glad to hear that. Things will come back to normal. Next big thing for myself and Spiracraft and lots of folks, I hope that's numerous folks that I know, is SWAT down in Texas last weekend in August. Spiracraft has a nice large booth there, and we'll be there with all of our product lines from Spiracraft. Let's just hope it doesn't get canceled. Let's hope, hope, hope. Okay, now one could rough this out with a spindle roughing gouge, but because I've got it in the jaws like this, I'm going to use one of the carbide tools to do this. Just because it's pretty far out of whack, all right? And this will give me a little lighter touch for that. It looks like my key, I'm looking over at the Facebook page here. Looks like the key is working pretty good today. Looks like my front camera might not be focused like it just possibly should be exactly, but you just can't win sometimes. So this is the EasyWood Tools mid-size rougher. If anybody does art and craft shows and you have a mini lathe, if you've got your blanks prepared, you can be making lidded boxes out there at the art and craft shows. People love to watch, and they'd sell pretty well. Move my tool wrist in a little bit. I'm just getting the corners off of it now. Like I said, this guy will be kind of small, but that's okay. I've made them real small. My wife keeps her rings in one that's, I'd probably call it an acorn box, I guess. It's really not very big. The wood grain land right now is in a spindle grain orientation. I say. It's actually, how have I got this thing laying? It's actually side grain. I lied to you. It is side grain. That's why I didn't want any spindle gouge. Spindle roughing gouge. Going to be interesting to see what that looks like right there when this all comes around. So, out of curiosity for myself, because we were talking about it, I'm going to take a little bowl, that little bowl gouge that I was using before, wherever I put it. Where did I put you? That's the bigger one. I'm looking for the smaller one I was running. There you are. And actually get a nicer, cleaner, easier cut. So it's not quite drowned yet. You can hear it there in the tick and was stopping, you'll see. But we do get a much cleaner cut. Let me, also I zoomed this out. I'm going to zoom this back in for you now. So I'm going to change camera for a second and zoom number 2, the overhead back in. Let me get to where I can get to it. You'll see me reach up, but at least you won't see the whole thing. There we go, and just that. All right, that's a better shot. You're in a little bit closer now. Now I don't need to make this perfect because I got to turn it around still. So what I want to do is make an 1 3/8" tenon on this smaller one, because my 2 3/8 would be too big. So we'll pop that out of the way for a second. Grab our calipers. And a set of 1 3/8 jaws here. 2, 3. It's so much fun. I really like, just asking y'all to make a choice. Say, hey, make this, make that, and just kind of get up and go. It's good, fun challenge for me. I'm having a ball. I don't know which shoe. I'm on the overhead camera. So we're gonna make a little teeny old tenon on this guy. 1 3/8. So I'm just setting my calipers to the jaws. Set the jaws over here. Switch to the end profile. There's no need in trying to make this perfect in the round, because when we turn it around into the chuck, it might not line up exactly the same anyway. So you get close and that's fine, but you don't need to get there, because you're going to turn it around and then you go ahead and get things trued up. Now, this is going to be a little teeny box, but it'll be fun. Okay, so we're going for that little spot right there. And I just make that light cut. And then I check that with the calipers. I don't know if you can barely see that light little cut that I made right there. I'll come in sideways to it. Okay. Check it with my caliper. So it's just a fuzz bigger, and that's fine. I don't want to be smaller, obviously. And I'm using the back of the cutter again for my reference on how long to make my tenon. So there's a match to the back of my cutter. Make sure I have a nice flat surface right here. Clean that up. Make sure that all looks good. Grab a detail style tool. Make my dovetail. Okay, just in case for some reason we needed to check that. Put a little divot in the end. Okay, now we'll turn this guy around. Actually put it in the chuck with the right jaws. It is, like I say, it's fun because this is just, you know, one slab of wood out of here. There's 6 projects in here, at least, in this piece that was the waist. Remember, this is the pith. This is the wood on either side of the pith. You might have thrown the whole thing away. Great projects here. Hey, there's the jaw tool that I was looking for earlier. It was hiding underneath stuff. So the view is much better on YouTube, Jim. Yeah, YouTube gives a better quality feed. Facebook doesn't give you as much bandwidth. They might even be putting it out there at 360 on a good day, or 720 on a good day, maybe 360. The archives on Facebook are 360. The YouTube is 1080. And that's why, though I announce these on Facebook, I also stream it to YouTube, and I'd actually rather people watch it on YouTube because, as you say, the quality is better. But the audience availability for announcements is over on Facebook, and that's why I always put the Facebook or the YouTube link in the Facebook announcement. All right, and so now I have a really nice tenon here. Let's see how that shows for you. Just a little bit of a gap right there. All right. Snug that guy right up. I'll bring the tailstock back up. We'll get this all cleaned up and figured out the size we want to make this guy. All right. Let's see here. Got that. I'm going to bring the tailstock back up in here. I appreciate, Jim, you let me know that when you see it, you're seeing it live there, that the YouTube feed looks better. It's learning this stuff, this live stream stuff, and everybody and their brother is streaming now. And Spiracraft has been doing it for about 2 years in a limited form with Zoom. Everybody's learning to use Zoom. But as you get more complicated, just like me standing here in this room now with that wood wall behind me that doesn't exist, and multiple cameras and my little switcher here, and the platforms and the software, it is actually fairly complex, and there's a lot of things to go wrong. So it's a good fun challenge that's different from our wood working and our wood turning, but it helps to, oh, that's the wrong one, to be able to bring information to people, and I think it's a wonderful thing, and I'm happy that more people have found this format, because it keeps us all safe, gives access to more people. You know, some people that say it's the future. We'll see. It's hard to replace one-on-one. Go back here. It's hard to replace, talking to somebody at a trade show, at a symposium, where you can stand there and actually physically hold things, hold tools, hold products, and ask, long, detailed questions and get good, solid information and feedback. That's really important, and I truly hope that we don't ever really lose that. But this is, I guess, the second best thing to that, and it's a wonderful format and a wonderful medium. All right, back to the end play, and we're going to clean up this end, and I am going to go back to the square tool, the square rougher, for just a second for these corner blocks, just to get those off of there. And you'll see I just use part of the cutter. Let me go back to the overhead, actually. I don't use the whole cutter. I don't want that big grab. I just come in here nice and light. I'd rather make several light cuts than one or two heavy cuts. And we can go laterally with this if we want. Okay. There are a lot of different ways to get where you're going with your tools. Okay. Now we got a hole right there. We still got a hole right there, and this is not perfectly round yet. But nothing says that this box has to be perfectly parallel sides either, right? So we can shape this any way we want, if we are so inclined to give it a little profile. So let's see what happens here. I'm going to take the speed up a little bit. That's where that hole is. And I don't know that that's going to be the true bottom right there or not. Okay. Like I said, this guy's got a number of interesting little holes, and I think that's going to give us trouble. So I think we're just going to take that away. Let's just take that away from the scene here. We don't need that. It's just going to make our life difficult. We don't want to waste any wood, but we don't need that divot in what we're working on either. Now this could use a quick trip to the wheel. So we'll just get rid of this. All right. Super handy dandy. This is the Carter & Son 16th inch parting tool. I love that tool. Still got a little wormhole right there. So maybe we make this a little shorter. Parting tool comes back out. No need to fight that wormhole. We got plenty of wood to work with our little piece here. Little relief cut there. All right, now we're fairly clean there. Okay. That said, you can see our piece has gotten shorter already. That you'll be able to see there. My lid, where's my lid going to be? My lid's going to be I'm going to make this my lid. So the narrower this cut can be, the better off we are, because we'll lose less grain. Trying not to make a relief cut here, because if I do, then I lose more of this matching grain running down through the piece as the things go on by. And so the top piece would be my little lid. And we're going to save that and chuck it. And I may do this one in reverse. Because usually I make the lid fit the body. So there's our lid, and we'll just set it off to the side here for a minute. Okay. Coming around to the end. I actually happen to have, do I have it here? I have one of the some of the Sorby hollowing tools. I'm not sure if I have them here or not. I'm thinking if I had the Hollow Master in here, because we carry, but we haven't gotten them on the Spiracraft hasn't gotten them on the website yet. That's the Spindle Master. I may not have it handy here. I don't think I do have it set up. So that being said, and I have a negative rake there. I'm just looking for the right tool to go inside this box. The easy way. I think I'll start with the 1/4 inch bowl gouge. I need to go here for you. Sorry about that. And what I'll do in the sake of time, I won't go all the way down in here. We'll just go through the process. So pretend that we hollow it all the way down in there. Okay. Now, as I think about this, I'm trying to think it and not change my routine so much. I really do want to change this around. So I am going to take this. I'm going to do the lid first. And one thing I need to make sure I'm aware of, as I show you in the overhead, I need to make sure I know which way the lid is going, and that this is the top and this is where it mates. And you see that the amount of wood we took out so far, things still made up pretty well. The grain doesn't really change too much right in there. Okay, so I want to run a few minutes over noon, but hey, that's not uncommon with me. All right, so I'm going to take my marker and just make myself a mark here that says top, just like that, so that I'll know. Now this is one of the beauties of the EasyWood chuck, is that we can change these jaws super quick from one size to another without having to change chucks. Before this, and I have got lots of chucks, and I had always just a different chuck excuse me, with different jaws, and I would change chucks. This should hold that. May not be perfect, but it should do the trick. And that's the top, so this is our bottom. What I'm going to do, the goal here is to get your mating surfaces built, the two pieces put together, and then turn it all as one for your finished shape. If that makes sense to you. Okay, that looks pretty good. Like I say, I haven't made one of these in probably 2 years, but we'll have fun with it. We'll have fun with it. Back to the end view. These little guys need to be sharpened up. See if I can reach in there with that other gouge a little bit better or not. Try not to lean against the controls, try not to get my arm in the way. This just takes out a little bit of the top, takes a little of the mass out. The other fun thing about doing these leaded boxes is you have to remember how thin the walls are when it's all said and done. Because when you shape the outside, you can't see the inside. So I don't want to take any more than I have to off the outside, the absolute outside. And also try and come in here with my little spindle gouge and just kind of clean this up. Yep. Okay. There we go. So I'll make a little step here. Now I don't know if I have it with me or not.
my inside calipers, key, and I may have them in the drawer, and if I do, I'm going to look here in a second. These two sides need to be parallel. If they're pointed in, it won't go down. If it won't go on, and if they're pointed out, it can be a little baggy. So you really want them to be parallel. And a set of inside calipers will measure that for you. So let me look over here in my drawer system. I know they're around, but I can't guarantee that I have them handy. Because I wasn't planning necessarily to do a lidded box, and I hadn't thought about my inside calipers as I root through the drawer. So I don't see them right off without making a horrendous mess. And I will double check over here again real quick. See if they're hiding in the back of this cabinet over here, and if not, we'll just hope for the best that I have a parallel sides. They're still there. So on this the diameter of this is small enough that I need to raise this tool rest up because the bottom of the tool is dragging the heel. For me to get a clean cut. Okay, and I want to make sure that I have just a little bit of taper. I want this lip right here to be leaning in just a little teeny bit so that this very outermost edge is the longest point. So just a little bit, not a lot, just a little bit of angle there. Okay. Now we can come back in here and clean up this inside some more. We can round it around some more if we want to. If you're wondering what I just grabbed, this is a little 1/4 inch bowl gouge with a super short traditional bevel on it. Think of whatever people are calling bottom feeders these days. And it's got the heel's ground away, and it's got a little micro bevel on it. So it'll let me reach in here and make these real tight radius cuts and clean this right up. Okay. Got an old John Jordan handle on it. Just a piece of black pipe with some foam on it. It actually works great. Alright, so there's our little lid. Roughed out. Left enough wall thickness there. Hopefully this is, these sides are parallel, otherwise it's not going to want to work. So we'll change this back around. Again, if you've got any questions, holler at me. Because what we're going to do now is we're going to make this lid fit this base once we cut a profile on the base. And the base will be spinning, and we'll put the lid up to it, and we'll actually burnish a line to make that fit. Make our mark so we know where to cut to. I've seen people make these by measuring and using their calipers and going back and forth and back and forth. And I'm pretty sure I learned this from Jimmy Clues. Trust me, I didn't make it up. It's not my idea on how to do it, but I'm pretty sure when I was first starting, I watched Jimmy. I watched Jimmy a lot. I learned a lot from Jimmy, and that's what I saw him. How I saw him do it. It was either he or Richard Raffin. I saw Richard Raffin in Chattanooga years ago. Spent the day with him for $40. Best $40 I've ever spent. Incredible man to watch him work. I didn't mark these or anything. I just took it out of there, so. Okay. So there's our piece. Our sides are still pretty good. We line up wherever our markings line up here. Find something that matches real good, easy. Sometimes that's the hardest part, trying to find where the match is. I think that's that's it right there. So far everything's good. Now we have to cut a little bit of a profile on here. All right, so we have our step in here, and we're going to cut a bevel on this edge, or a chamfer, if you will. And we're going to cut a chamfer on that. We're going to make it to where that chamfer goes to the inside of this. And this is the tricky part for making the fit. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Tool of choice today. Boy, it's been a long time since I made one of these. Move my tool, my power control over here. Try not to get my shoulder in the way. So what I need is a nice clean line. It kind of wiggled on me there. You see that burnish line? So I need to come clean that off, and I'll just scrape that face. I don't really want to take any material away if I don't have to. Let's see, might be easier for you to see this going from here. You have good days and bad days of getting that perfect little line right there. Okay. So then the trick is to kind of sneak up on that guy and start testing your fit. And I'm actually also putting a little bit of a bevel going in on the back side of this. So what you want this to do is initially snap into place. Now later on you want to loosen that fit up, but for the moment you want it to snap, have to press on there. And if you cut it too loose, then it won't stick on there. And you can cut them too tight also that you can't get them back off sometimes. It's a real chore. Now this wood is a little crumbly. Looks like doesn't have that much strength. It's been around for quite a while now, and it's starting to decay a little bit. And it's surprising the difference between just right. So I mean, I just took a fuzz off of that, and so it's actually a little bit loose, and I will be able to tighten that up. It should have been tighter. I took a little too much of that out of there. So what I'll do, because I need to take a little bit more away anyway, I'll try and remedy my error. And I'm in the overhead. So I'll leave that just a little teeny bit bigger down there in the bottom. Okay. And it's still going to be, I'm rusty. I'm rusty on this. That should be snapping into place and locking in there. So it just keeps getting shorter. But let's see if we can't not take away a ton. And get a little bit tighter fit. When the box is actually in use, there we go. Okay, so now the top stays on its own. We're still going to bring tailstock up here.
When the box is in use, and you'll learn this, if you had it that tight, people won't buy it, and your wife won't use it. Trust me, I know. There's one still in the house there. The first one I gave my wife, and I made that nice vacuum fit that I had learned at the wood turning club, and the lid stays on there crooked all the time because it just doesn't quite want to go on. But what we've got here is now we can shape our whole piece with this joint together. All right, so that's what we're after. And I will bring the tailstock back up just to hold this in place. If it was really nice and snug and I'd had to almost tap it on there, I wouldn't need the tailstock. But being rusty, I didn't. And I'm also going to throw on urethane rubber chucky tip right here, so that I don't actually drill a hole in the top of it, but it will help hold everything together. Now to press that together, and we'll go back to the overhead right there. And we'll refine our finished shape. And then we'll finish off the top, and that will be a box.
That's the basic premise on how you make one. They're a lot of fun, and it came out of this scrap wood that we were throwing away. If you remember that. So just choosing the tool here. This is where you have to remember how much wood you have left. You left inside the top and whatnot. And there's a million shapes you can make a lidded box into. Million and one shapes. Lower that tool wrist down just a tick. I'll show you what I'm doing from the end because we're working from the overhead right now. Okay. That looks pretty good from the end there. I wonder, I'm curious, I'm just kind of playing with my tools. Like I said, I like to have fun out here. I'm looking for some of my other spindle gouges. I took everything off the rack recently, and I haven't put it all back. Looks like I like the Carter & Son low profile spindle gouge. The only spindle gouge I have out here right now is a detail gouge. I don't know where the others have gotten to. And that detail gouge isn't sharp. So just go back to a bowl gouge. And I'm kind of thinking about what kind of detail do I want to put up on the top of this. Just trying to lightly pick up that cut. Okay. I need to do something right up in here in the very, very tip top of this. Some of that, it's got some crazy grain right in here because we are right down in the middle. And of course it would cut cleaner if I was cutting uphill, which we're going to try right now and see if we get a better cut. And we hope our lid stays on. Alright, right there. Oh, my power went all the way underneath. Alright, lid, stay on. Give us a nice clean cut here. Hopefully I don't get any vibration. Alright, that's cutting much cleaner. That cut much cleaner for me. There's still just some funky grain that's actually missing wood there. Now, it's not super zoomed in. Let's see if I zoom this in on the end, will it stay in focus? Because it's in a manual focus. Because the cameras can't keep up when it's not manual. So I'm getting a fantastic finish right there, right off the tool. But I've got some weird funky grain right there, okay? Now I'm going to come down here and I'm going to finish coming around this corner and just kind of blend this in and clean this up. To blend my top to my bottom, so let me go overhead for you. So there's a big old gash right here from something. So you literally can't see that joint, other than the fact that I don't have it quite lined up. Now what you can do is you can highlight, if the gap is showing up a lot, you can burn it with a wire, and you can put a couple burns around it. And the other thing I want to do while I'm standing here, I'm going to decide where the bottom of this is actually going to be. I'm going to part this off. So I'm going to say that there's the bottom of my box. All right, and all this in here is waste wood so that I can part it off. All right. So this will help my eye develop the piece. Okay, so that's how long our piece is total. That's the full size right there. Again, sky's the limit on what you do for shapes and profiles. You can do kind of whatever you want to. I'm having a ball playing this. Say it's been a long time since I've done one of these, and I'm having a lot of fun. That gouge or scratch is big goop gouge in here. That one right there, it may be a split that's actually in the wood. I'm trying to turn away. It's like kind of turn away a shadow. I don't know if any of you ever done that. You thought there was something there, and it's actually a shadow of light coming from something you're working on overhead with the light bulbs. That actually may be a split in the piece. So I'm just going to leave that. I'm going to leave that alone because we can sit here and chase it all day, and I know I'm over time as it is. So I'm going to come back up here, and I'm going to do a little detail work on the top. Maybe throw a bit of abrasive paste on this real quick, and we'll part it off. I'll fix this lid to where it's looser now that I got it under nice and tight, and we'll try and wrap this guy up. I do appreciate you hanging with me a little extra overtime past noon. What is it? It's 12:20. Yeah, you know, when I get to having fun, I just want to go. I just want to do stuff. So what am I going to do here? I'm going to make some kind of little something. I'm not sure. Now, I've got plenty of material up here. I've got a negative rake on here. Which camera? I'm on the end. Okay. So I'm just kind of thinking, I want to make just a little pull button or something here. I'm just kind of thinking out loud as I go. That detail gouge. I should have plenty of wood up there. Of course, I could end up making a donut hole here too. You know, you never know for sure. It's all good till you run out of wood. These fun little projects, or little projects like this, are fun. Makes you slow way down. You know, not a big old giant bowl. Much as I like making big old giant bowls and all that. Let's see. Let me try, just for yucks. Just because it's called a parting tool doesn't mean you have to always part with it. See, I'm just trying to make a little pull knob here. so that you got something to get a hold of with your fingers. All right. Now I'm getting somewhere. Now if I can just get this around this corner, let me try this guy again. I switch tools a lot when I'm playing like this, so I find just what I need. Because when you find the right one, it's magic. This guy is obviously nice and sharp. And that gives me a great cut. A real nice cut. Now there's a divot right there. I got to fix that. It's my bad. But you can see I have a wonderful finish right here on the top of this. So where's that divot that I made from skipping the tool? Right there on the corner. This should take care of it. You know, and if I wanted to, I could do something like this. I could make a detail right here. I could leave that line right there and just make a relief, or let that stand proud. Just as a little detail, if it's so inclined. See what I'm saying? So lots of different things that we can do here. All right, so before we go too much further, let's see, now that I've got this on here, that's the problem you run into when you make them so tight. Will it come off? And it will. So that will come off of there. All right, so what I want to do before I do anything more, and just so we can see what this looks like, I'm just going to hit it with some abrasive paste, so we can kind of see it. I'm not going to do the nth degree, just to kind of show you how you would finish it out real quick like. You would sand it, go through all the standard procedure. Get her sanded up nice. Then take your abrasive paste here, if you just want a nice natural finish. And again, the lid is not oriented to the bottom right now. And so I skipped sanding this entirely. Because it's lunchtime. It's past lunchtime. But you get in here and start having fun. You know, how can you stop, right? So again, the point being, as the whole thing today, we took these scraps of the log, the bowl that we've got here, that was the outside scab of the piece. This is all right out of the pith section of the log. These great little projects. Again, if you're selling stuff, art and craft wise, you know, it's money. Wood is money. Okay, like I said, needed to be sanded, but we passed on that just for time. It's funny, it's the paper towel is sticking in some of the grain. That's all good for what we're doing. All right, so now we come in here and we get this lid popped back off. The other thing is the heat sometimes makes them stick even more. It can be tricky to get them loose.
because there's no lip, because of course we turned it to fit, and we pressed it on there. This is always the embarrassing part where you can't get them apart. Let me go right there for a sec. See if I can find a razor knife. I can just get a little tip down in there. Sometimes that will let you in. Sometimes not. Sometimes you have to let them cool down because you don't want to mess up that fit, that look. I got it to move just before I started doing this. And now she's on there tight because it expanded when it got hot, I do believe. He's on there good. And I don't want to, like I say, I was trying to get in here with a razor knife to see if I can get it just to move. But I don't want to, there we go. Just a little teeny bit. Okay. So obviously that is too tight in there. So I need to go in and just, it's just right down here, just ever so slight an amount that we're going to take off of there. I mean, just a teeny bit. Forward would be good. Don't try and sand it because you'll mess it up. There we go. Okay, so that's the general idea. All right, good, cool beans. I can take that off now. We come over here and we can part this off. Had you sanded it all properly and all that good stuff. We'll part this away. Back to the overhead. When we part the bottom off, we want to make sure that we make it undercut so that it sits flat. You could have put a base in here. There's plenty of wood in here. You could have put a profiled base, anything you wanted to do. Of course, you get a captive ring as a byproduct. Get that out of there. I love this 16th inch tool. What I'm trying to do is get it as smooth as I can as I go close to the very center. I don't want to do any more sanding than I had to down inside there, or on the bottom once it comes loose. Supposed to cut all the way through. Make sure I'm in the overhead. Yep. Now when I get close here, I'm going to slow the lathe down.
There we go. And that makes our parts it off. We got a little bit of work. We just sand that nub right there.
So there's your little lidded box. Again, that's a real simple one. Nothing fancy at all, but that's how they work. Again, we didn't go deep inside of here. You can see we didn't go real far. But we have a nice alignment when we find the right spots. Granted, again, I would have wanted to sand that, but I skipped that whole part. All right, there's where it lines up. So that's whoever asked. I can't remember now who was asking to make a lidded box. That's the basic premise on how they work, on how to make the lidded box. Lots of fun, good practice for your tool skills, and all that good stuff. If anybody got any kind of questions before we jump out of here? There's a Mexican restaurant up the street calling me. I know that for a fact. I do appreciate everybody coming by today. It's been nice. I always like to try and get as much as I can out of the wood for as many projects as possible. So just keep that in mind when you're cutting up a log. The pieces that you think you might throw away, rethink that. Now, if they are split, cracked, dangerous, things like that, then don't go there. That might just be better firewood. Good. You can always work your way down to the last, and this is even big. You can probably get 2 bottle stoppers out of these if you really worked at it. The bottle stopper is your last straw, or your wood for finial. Rich wants me to. You want me to bring you lunch down to Florida? Sure, I'll bring you lunch. You pick up the plane tab. I'll be there in about an hour and a half. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out with me today. I had a lot of fun. I hope you did. I hope you picked up some tips. Again, if you ever have any questions, info@spiracraft.com. I'm happy to talk to you. Give me a call on the phone if you need. Numbers on the website, spiracraft.com. All that good stuff. Everybody have a good, safe week. Be healthy, be safe, and I'll see you on Monday. No, actually, I am indeed. I'm finally going to get Saturday special roll on this coming Saturday. I always forget. I almost did this last week. We had a lot of things going on here at home, and so too much got in the way. So Saturday special this Saturday, the Grexair brushes and Chromacraft paints and dyes. Throw that plug in there. So have a great week. Everybody have fun. I should shut my mouth. I stand here with my mouth open. I love watching myself on television. Not. All right, guys. I'll see you. Take care. Be good.